If you've ever heard of Haze, an FPS game on the PS3, it's probably in a negative fashion. Have you ever heard anything good about it? I know I haven't. Hell, I brought it over to my friend Will's house to play, and he looked at me and said, "Dude, that game is shit." He probably now wishes we played that instead of Ride to Hell. In Haze, you play as one Shane Carpenter, a fresh college participant who joined the Mantle Forces to eradicate a rebel force. Later on in the game, you figure out why they are fighting. Sort of. You get a few vague ideas, and then can assume the true story, but it's not really fleshed out much, and it's not that strong to begin with. But let me slow down, because there's a huge plot twist that's important to discuss. If you don't want to know what it is, then don't listen to this review, or read the back of the box either, because they spell it out on there. Basically, about a third of the way into the game, Carpenter realizes he's on the wrong side, as he's saved by the rebel forces as they open his eyes to realize that the Mantle forces are actually the bad guys. From here on out, you have to fight the Mantle guys, but believe me, you'll be happy to do so. Before I explain why, you'll learn that the Mantle forces have a major reason for being there, and now it's up to you to stop them. So let me explain why you'll hate the Mantle guys. Nectar. Basically, nectar is a drug that Mantle forces inject into their soldiers. This is done automatically, as the suits that they wear consistently administer the drug. When playing as a Mantle soldier, you can choose to get high yourself, which will give you a bit more damage resistance and highlight your enemies, almost like you're playing as a predator. This is pretty cool in itself, and I could have enjoyed playing a game like this. But, you're going to hate your teammates because of the nectar side effects. In essence, your fellow squad mates are fucking annoying as hell. They act like freaking frat boys. The guy who tends to take the lead the majority of the time enjoys calling you buddy, which isn't too big of a deal with me, but he tends to put way too much emphasis on the word. And he likes comparing you to meat. Two other guys that thankfully die soon after you switch sides enjoy yelling, "Boosh." I swear if I never hear the word again, I'll be the happiest guy on earth. You'll encounter other Mantle soldiers that will spout other nonsense that gives them a cheap thrill. As cool as it is to see that most soldiers have original names, even though they die a couple seconds later, they all spout the same dozen lines. You'll want to pop them in the heads just to shut them the hell up. Before I move on to the gameplay, I want to show this scene. It's something I just don't understand. There's nothing censored in the game. The F-bomb is thrown plenty of times. So what the hell is beeped out here? I kind of want to ad-lib it, but I don't have the motivation right now. So go ahead and put in the comments section what you think he might be saying. Could be an entertaining read for me. So what does the game play like? You run around, completing your objectives, which tend to be run from point A to point B, and shoot whatever bad guys are around you. I've mentioned that as a Mantle force, you can inject yourself with the nectar. You get about 6 injections, but it will automatically recharge on its own. In addition, you have to be careful not to overdose on it. I never have, so I don't know if it would outright kill you, but I guess it's definitely possible. I will say that the shooting mechanics in Haze are incredibly loose, so much that it's hard to properly line up a good shot. There's no pinpoint shots here. You do have some ways to zoom in on your rifles, but it's not usually worth it. If you watch some of my other FPS reviews, you'll know that I enjoy playing games with the crosshairs off. Well, in this one, I was forced to turn it on, although it really didn't help all that much. And that's not all that's loose in the game. The few driving segments you get involved in are just as bad. They're almost as bad as Ride to Hell. Close, but not as bad, because at least you can reverse in this game. Driving around, it's easy to smack into walls because, again, there's not any way to make small steering changes. It makes some of these driving levels way harder than they needed to be. If your vehicle is destroyed, the game isn't immediately over. You can walk a few miles to the next available vehicle, then hop into that. At least, this is how it works most of the time. There will be a few situations where you won't have a chance to escape before it blows up. And even more, I got into this situation. You can't swim, so instead of walking all the way back, I decided just to start from the nearest checkpoint. Probably still saved me time. Now, not all is bad with the game. I know I'm being very negative here like many other reviews of the game, but there are some redeeming qualities, of which I'll talk about now. When playing the game, you'll find out that the only time it really loads is after you perish. Other than that, the game seems to utilize the cutscenes to load further portions of the game. Either that or it uses the PS3's hardware to just keep loading the future set pieces. Either way, I need to give the developers props, because most FPS games have a few loading segments between stages. But not Haze. Kudos, guys. Next up, you'll find out you can shoot down your teammates. The best part? There's no negative repercussions to this. You can easily mow down your annoying mantle pals, and although they'll yell at you for a bit, you're not given a game over or anything. So feel free to pop them in the head and be done with their stupid dialogue. Another thing I actually really enjoyed is that you'll have to scavenge ammo for your guns, especially if you want to use the ones that you don't run into often, such as a sniper rifle. By holding a button, you will disassemble the ammunition type on the ground and convert it into something that you can use in the weapon you're currently holding. Keep in mind that you can only carry 2 guns at a time, and if it's ammo that can be actively collected on any of these 2, meaning you're not maxed out on that, you'll pick it up instead of being given the option to scavenge it. Plus, you're told early on that the more you use the scavenge option, the less ammo you'll get in subsequent attempts, so you'll need to keep this in mind. Another cool thing that you can do with your weapons is bury grenades in the ground and use them as proximity mines. Now, I only used this once, when you're told that you can do so, but it's still a neat idea. I don't get on how it works, because these are simple frag grenades, but hell, it's a game, so I won't think too hard on it. Another interesting idea is the fact that you can fake your own death. Basically, when you take too much damage, you're given the option to fall down and play dead. The reasoning behind this is that the nectar heightens the adrenaline of the mantle forces, and because they're basically high as fuck, they don't really take notice of enemies that fall, but instead focus on those still walking around. So if you can just drop to the ground, they'd assume that you're dead and move forward. If you time this right, you can then get up quickly and mow down the enemies that foolishly passed you. Of course, playing dead doesn't work on the mechanized turrets, so don't bother trying. But of course, even those positive features are bogged down by stupid cons. You have to do a late missile truck escort, in which it drives painfully slow and you have to literally stand so damn close to it, you'll be afraid you're going to get run over. There is some annoying motion control action, in which you shake the control to extinguish yourself if you're ever put on fire. There were a few times where I felt like I just suddenly died. You'll see tire tracks on top of the water, almost like the truck thinks that it's Jesus or something. NPCs can suddenly appear, which probably has something to do with me dying randomly. And as for the mortars, I swear some guy is just using his voice to go, "Oh!" and then they just insert a generic explosion sound. At least, I've never heard mortars this way before. Now, I will say that I kept playing the game because I just wanted to see how it ended. Although the ending blows, the final sets of levels, where you're driving along the side of the mantle personnel carrier, was actually really fun. But at the same time, why does the game just fade between scenes? I mean, they could have easily have done normal transitions, but I don't understand the whole fading idea. It was just lazy shortcuts so that they could cut down the amount of animation and designing they had to do. Lame. I think that's all I really have for Haze. It's a generic FPS game featuring some of the most annoying enemies I've ever encountered. When you look at it, it almost feels like it was originally designed for a PS2. I bet most people stop playing it a few stages in, but if you do want to give this one a shot, at least try to make it to the Rebel side, and then see how you feel. Because if you're anything like me, you'll enjoy it at least a little bit more once you switch sides. Just make sure you don't pay a lot for this. I only paid $5 for it, and even that seems to be a bit high. Final score? 6 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.